So as you see the slide, that is, we will be discussing now the origin of American English and how did English language go to America. And we know the difference between American English and British English, especially for the cause of pronunciation pattern. In case of British English, we see that in most cases, R will not be pronounced, especially the last R. The beginning R will be pronounced, but in case of American English, R will be pronounced. This is the region. That means in case of American English and also American English, you will be using S sound with the jet later, J sound. And British English is very much tended to use S sound. Okay, so we will be discussing all into this class whenever we will be discussing the origin of American English. Though we have already learned that British colonial power is spread all over the world, and in this scenario, the first expedition from England to the New World was commissioned by a person. His name is Walter Raleigh, and it was in 1584 and proved to be a failure. Walter Raleigh was failed in his first attempt. And next time, a group of explorers landed near Roanoke Island in what is now North Carolina and established a small settlement. So the first time the British colonial power started to go to American island, that is 1584, by the expedition done by Walter Raleigh. This person is Walter Raleigh, an English adventurer and writer who established a colony near Roanoke Island in the present-day North Carolina. He was imprisoned in the Tower of London and eventually put to death for treason. This is the history. And this is Roanoke Island. And Virginia. And this is the part of North Carolina state of America. There is this island. First time Walter Raleigh established a small settlement over there, though he was first time failed to establish colony over there. Actually, Queen Elizabeth granted Raleigh a royal charter authorizing him to explore, colonize. As you see that colonize, S-E, colonize, but in case of American English, it will be Z. So colonize and rule and remote heathen and barbarous land, countries and territories, and not actually possessed to any Christian prince or inhabited by Christian people. So this is the first time Walter Raleigh got approval from the Queen of England to explore the unexplored part of this world. Conflict with the native people followed when first time settlement in Roanoke Island, as we see in the, okay. So after that, there was a conflict between the native people over there in America. Before 1584, people had been living in an American continent. And that were the Native American people, especially the Red Indians, had been living over there. So when Raleigh established the first colony or settlement in American continent in 1984, the conflict between the American inhabitants and the England started. And by that time, this arrived that 1950 and 1590, none of the original group of the settlers could be found, and the mystery of their disappearance has never been solved. Actually, it was observed that in 1590, the people who came from England to America, they were disappeared. Where they go? Where did they go? It was a mystery. The first permanent settlement in English settlement in America was 1607, when an expedition arrived at Chesapeake Bay. This is the first formal settlement in America by the British colonists. And the colonists called their settlement Jamestown, after the name of the English king, James the First. And the area Virginia, after the name of Virgin Queen, that means the Queen Elizabeth. Okay, so the Virginia is also named after the British Queen, that is Queen Elizabeth. We know that Queen Elizabeth was unmarried, and for this reason, she is called Virgin Queen. And according to the name of the Virgin Queen, the states, American states, Virginia is named so. And the settlement also called the Jamestown. This is the first English settlement in America. This is the Chesapeake Bay. Over here you see Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean here. This is the part of the UK here, and they went over there in American continent and they established their settlement in this area. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in the United States. The bay is located in the mid-Atlantic region and is primarily separated from the Atlantic Ocean by the Delmarva Peninsula, with its mouth of the bay to the south and located between the Cape Henry and Cape Charles. So this is the first settlement in America by the British people. Further settlement quickly followed along the coast and also on the nearby islands such as Bermuda. Then in November 1620, the first group of Puritans, 35 members of the English Separatist Church, arrived on the Mayflower of the company of 67 other settlers. In 1622, there was a history in England that there was a queen. His name is Queen Mary. Okay, Queen Mary is called Bloody Mary. Why? Because during Mary's 5 years reign, around 280 Protestants were burned at the stake for refusing to convert to Catholicism. And a further 800 fled the country. The religious persecution earned her the notorious nickname Bloody Mary among subsequent generations. We know that there are two religious groups in Christianity, one Catholicism and another Protestant. And Protestant, their view is that the way the people, Catholic people, are following the religious principles are not exactly the religious way. They want to establish more or pure religious activities. And for this reason, they protest the religious activities done by Roman Catholicism. And they are Protestant. And who are the Puritans then? Puritans were a pejorative term characterizing certain Protestant groups as extremist. From the Protestant group, some are very much dogmatic in their ideals, and they want to purify Catholicism with their Protestant dogmatic idea of Christianity. These are called Puritans. So at the time of Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mary, these Puritans were persecuted. They were killed. And for the persecution of Queen Mary, many English people who are Puritan, they left England and went to America. That was told over here, that 67 and other settlers, and all of them are Puritans. They left England and went to America. Prevented by storms from reaching Virginia, they landed at Cape Cod Bay and established a settlement, what is now Plymouth, Massachusetts. So another states. So the Puritan, they wanted to go to the this area, this bay, but they failed, and for the cause of the stormy weather, and they landed there, the name that is the Plymouth and Massachusetts. So this Massachusetts is called New England, and the people living in this area are mostly Puritan. This group were extremely mixed, ranging in age from young children to the people in their 50s, and with diverse regional, social, and occupational background. So in Massachusetts, we see the mixture of several religious or ethnic group, and also the age. The people went there from England. They were young children, and also they are the people of their 50s. What the Pilgrim's Father, as they are later called, had in common was their search for a land where they could found a new religious kingdom, free from persecution and purified from the church practices they had experienced in England. Actually, the Puritans left England and they were searching for a place where they can do their religious activities in a well manner, without any disturbance, without any persecutive roles that was done by the Catholic Church in England. So they left England and went to America. It was successful settlement, and by 1640, about 25,000 immigrants had come to the area. So in this way, when the first group came consisting of 67, but in 1640, within the 20 years, the people, they left England and went to this Massachusetts. The number was to 25,000, and most of them are Puritans. The two settlements, one in Virginia to the south and the other in the north in the present New England, had different linguistics background. As we see that the before, the people, at first the people came over there, they are the elite class, and they use standard English and also very good English. However, the people next time they went to Massachusetts, that means the New England, what we can say that the mostly Puritan prone area of USA, we see the different linguistics group. Their language are different from each other, though they are using the same English language. We see its characteristics accent voicing the S sounds, as we have talked it earlier, and the R is strongly pronounced after vowels. In case of British English, the after the vowel sound, R will not be pronounced, just like father, last R, and the before the E, that is the vowel sound, fad a. And for this stage, and the British will be pronouncing in such a way, he is my father. That means father, not R, will be pronounced. And they will be using S sound. This is the accent or pronunciation pattern of British English. By contrast, many of the Plymouth colonists came from countries in the east of England, in particular Lincolnshire, Nottinghamshire, Essex, Kent, and London, with some of the Midland and a few from the farther afield. These Eastern accents were rather different, notably lacking an R after the vowel, and they proved to be the dominant influence in the area. So here in this area, we see the different, especially in the Plymouth area, among the colonists, we see R is almost nil in their pronunciation. The tendency not to pronounce the R is still a feature of the speech of the people from the New England. So in American English, in a broad sense, we see R will be pronounced. But in case of the New England, in USA, Massachusetts, we see that R will not be pronounced within the American English. Why? Because the people of this area came from the Midland, especially the England, and the Midland England, they use uh, standard English as we see the present day English in UK, standard English. The later population movement across America, and so there are many mixed dialect areas found throughout America today. And for this region, the people from uh, UK or England, they went America from a different parts of UK, and for this reason we see the different linguistics pattern in American English, though they use English language. During 7th century, new shiploads of immigrants brought an increasing variety of linguistics background into the country. People speaking very different kinds of English thus found themselves living alongside each other. So within that scenario, we see it should be within the 17th century, we see the linguistics variety in America is um, is more distinctive. Then in the 18th century, there was a vast wave of immigrants from the Northern Ireland. The Irish had been migrating to America from around 1600 years, but the main movement took place during the 1720 decades, when around 50,000 Irish and Scots Irish immigrants arrived. So in 17th century, many people from Ireland and Scotland left UK and went to America. By this time, American independence was declared in 1776. And it is thought that one of the 7 colonial population was Scot Irish. So the people of America in 17th century, when 18th century, when America declared independence, one of the 7 people living in America, their pronunciation pattern is not like the standard British English. It is like the Scottish Irish English. And there is another issues over here. Some people at the time of American independence, the people, many of them left England and went to America. Some people uh, wanted to stay loyal to the British Crown. They didn't support American Civil War. They are called the loyalists to the British Crown. And other parts, they were opposed by the patriots. Among the British people who had been living in America at the time of the Civil War, some people supported American Civil War. That means America should get independence from Britain. This group is called patriots. So one group, patriots, who support American civil independence, and another group, they are called loyalists. They support British government or British crown. This two group we also see in America at the time of American civil movement. By the time of the first census in 1790, so after getting independence in America, the population of the country was around 4 million. In 1790 decades, the first census of America was held, and we see that the people of America at that time was only 4 million. A century later, the population numbered over 50 million. So after getting independence, many people all around the world got immigration to America. Okay. And in this way, the immigrant people of America and the number of the people of America reached up to 50 million. It was not English which influenced the direction to the English language was to take in America. The Spanish has occupied the western southern part, not only the people of England, also Spanish went there, the French went there, the Dutch also went there, and the German also went there. So in the Dutch, in New York, you will see Dutch. In German, you will see Pennsylvania, and the Northern Territories, you will see French. So the people uh, uh, from all around Europe left Europe and went to America. So we see English as well as we will see other linguistic dominated group in America. In addition, there was increasing number of Africans entering the South as a result of the slave trade, as well as the slave trade. We know that after getting independence and after at the time of the British colony, many African people, especially the black people, they were caught and they were sold to America as the slave, and that was also a very profitable business for the people, especially the sea voyager and the adventurer. They had such kind of business, that is the slave trade. In such a way, many African people uh, went to America as slave, and this dramatically increased in 18th century. And so the slave, that means the African people, they also went to America in this way. A population of little more than 2,500 black slave in 1700 had become about 1 lakh by 1775. That means within 75 years, nearly 50 times, okay, or slave that they were caught from Africa and they were sent to American continent. A population of little more than far outnumbering the southern whites. So in 1775, the black people became more and larger in number than the white people living in the southern part of America. Especially this is for the slave trade, and also many people left Africa and went to America. The 19th century was a massive increase in American immigration as people fled the result of revolution, poverty, and famine in Europe. So in the 19th century, we see the economic recession in Europe, and also for the revolution from many European countries, and also for the poverty, they left Europe and went to America. So the immigration in America became more and more in 19th century. Irish came following the potato famine in Ireland in 1840 decades. And Ireland, the people of Ireland also went there. German and Italian came, escaping the consequence of the failed 1848 revolution. So there, German and Italian, they also tried to get a revolution, but they were failed. And those who were defeated in the revolution, they left Europe from German and Italian and went to America. So in such a way, from all parts of Europe, people went to America, and the number of immigrants were increased highly in this in American continent. European Jews, especially fleeing from the pogroms in the 1880 decades. In the first 2 decades of the 20th century, immigrants were entering the USA at an average of 750,000 a year. So in the 20th century, from the very beginning, every year, nearly uh, 750,000, that means nearly 1 million people entered America every year. And in 1900, the population was just over 75 million. These total had doubled in 1950. So in 1950, the people of America, the population of America became 150 million by 1950. Within 1 or 2 generations of arrival, most of these immigrant families had to come to speak English. So the scenario or concern is that the linguistics scenario. So in this way, the first time the immigrants go to America, and after the first generation, the second generation start speaking English as their first language. So the first generation immigration carried with their first language, either it may be German, Spanish, French, or Dutch. But when the second generation comes from the German born or Italian born, this second generation started using English language as their father language, as their first language. Why? Because all around English language is used. Only the French people or the Dutch people or the Spanish people, they use their mother tongue within their home. So in this way, the people coming from the other parts of this world, the first generation spoke their mother language. However, from the second generation, they start using English language as their uh, first language. And in case of linguistics pattern, it is called assimilation. That means someone will be accepting the language prevailed in this area. That happened for the second generation immigrants. Grandparents and grandchildren found themselves living in a very different linguistics world. So grandparents had been living the first language, either it may be Spanish or German, but the grandchildren, they are using English language. The result was a massive growth in mother tongue use of English in such a way. The vast number of immigrants came to America in 20th century, but when the second generation come, the second generation started using English language as their first language. In such a way, the mother tongue user, that means they use English as their mother tongue or first language in America, increased massively in America. According to the 1990 census, the number of people over 5 years of age who spoke only English at home had grown to over 198 million. That means 86% of the population. So in 1990, we see the scenario that 86% people of America, they use English as their first language. This figure increased to 215 million in the 2000 census. So this is almost 4 times as many mother tongue speakers as any other nation. So before America, we see that England had been using English as their first language, especially the UK countries. That means England, Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. However, in 2000 census, the population who are in UK, they use English as their first language, but the people living in USA, they use first language, and the number of people living in USA, that is the 4 times larger than the people living in UK and who use their English as their first language. And this is the scenario. So some commentators have suggested that the English language was a major factor in maintaining American unity throughout this period of remarkable cultural diversification, a glue which brought people together and a medium which gave them common access to opportunity. So why it happened so? The people, they left Europe and the other parts of the world and went to America, and they started to using one language. Why? Because some scholars, some commentators says that it is the basic um, root of American unity, American nationality. That means the linguistics ethnic group create the more united linguistics group in USA. Though we see that the American people came from the diversified cultural origin. That means the people of Europe, the people of Africa, the people of Indian subcontinent, from all of the worlds, the people went to a USA. So we do not see any linguistic change or the cultural change. However, we see the same linguistics pattern, and English language has become like a glue that has attached many cultural groups together, and that is the ground for American unity. So English language has become a ground root for American unity in such a way. At the same time, some minority groups began to be concerned about the preservation of their cultural and linguistic heritage within a society which was becoming increasingly monolingual. Some other minor groups are there. They were trying to establish their own cultural identity in the language in the USA as well, but they are less than 10%. That already we have learned that 90%, 86 to 90% people of America, they use English as their first language. In this regard, the first language user of America is increased in such a way. So if I conclude that the first establishment in America by the British colonial, that was started in 1684, and after that many people left America at the time of Queen Mary, especially the people they lived, they left America and went to they left UK and went to America for the cause of the Queen Mary, because Queen Mary was very much ferocious to the Puritan of this of England. So many people left England and went to America. And next time, uh, also we see that the people from African continent, they also went there by the hand of the sea voyagers who caught African people and sell them in America as slave. So slave trading was a important business in America. In such a way, the people of America, we see that the diversified uh, cultural group, but they have one language. The people, the immigrant people uh, go to America, but from the second generation, they start using English as their first language. In such a way, at present, the number of English language user who use English as their first language, especially in USA, they are 4 times larger than the people who use English as the first language other than USA. So in USA, we see the much and more number of English speaking people who use English as their first language. So this is in short the origin of American English. So next time we will